This is Fearlessly Fertile. Welcome to the Fearlessly Fertile podcast, episode 339. Pissed that perfection hasn't yielded pregnancy? Outing our warped perceptions around gestational justice. Hey, loves, I'm so excited to be here with you this week and sharing a topic that literally just jumped out of one of my amazing Fearlessly Fertile Method coaching calls. And I could not resist the temptation to share this nugget of wisdom with you. This is what I love about the women that I get to work with, the amazing work that we do together, because it really brings out some of these really crazy ideas that can get stuck in our heads, especially living this journey as lovably type A, control freaky professional women with a history of professional success. Then we try to apply that shit to our fertility journey, and then we get frustrated because it doesn't work. And one of those things is this idea that we have to be perfect. We have to earn this pregnancy. We have to work harder, grind harder, suffer, struggle, and completely abandon our old way of living in order to earn this baby. It's this punishing attitude that really kind of made us successful in our careers, right? To get ahead in your career, chances are you're having to do things that other people either don't have the discipline to do, won't do, for a litany of reasons. And some of that is true on this journey because the kind of tenacity that you have to have is mirrored by the kind of tenacity you had to have professionally in order to get what you want. But what that does is it ignores the very feminine and nonlinear nature of this journey. Women from Fortune 500 companies, executives, CEOs, physicians, lawyers, teachers, nurses, engineers. I mean, women from all over the world come to me who have quite impressive resumes and on paper look like they have all their shit together. And you know, in many ways they do, but this journey throws them a curveball. When you have a history of success and you're doing all the things, checking the boxes, and doing all the things that the experts are telling you to do, and it's still not working, it can be really earth-shattering in a sense, paradigm-shattering, if you will, because all of those things are what made you successful in your academic and professional career. So this journey, because of its nonlinear nature, because we are talking about a baby and there is no exact recipe, because we know that you can have perfect embryos, a perfect lining, and perfectly graded cell division and all this good stuff and still not get pregnant. We know that there is an X factor involved. And that's really where the way you think, what you believe, how you approach your journey, this is why it matters so much, because what that X factor is fucking you. It's you. So when we have this idea in our head that we have to work hard, we have to earn it, it really skews our vision and can cause us to get into a place that I call a sense of offended gestational justice. And here's what I mean by that. Is we get the sense that, oh my gosh, I'm doing all these things, and then I'll come across this couple that might have been trying for less time. They're less disciplined with their diet. They don't exercise. They're not struggling in the way that we are. And they just get pregnant by sneezing, right? It's this idea that we look at other people in some ways as less deserving than us because they haven't suffered as much. They haven't been on the journey as long as we have. They haven't had to go through the things that we have. And it's this really interesting form of a victim mentality that leads us into this warped sense of gestational justice. Like they don't deserve to have their baby because they didn't suffer as much as I did or as we did. And I want to break that down for you in a way that really can start to help you see how warped that is, and more importantly, what you can start doing about it, because it is fucking warped. Think about it. You would never go up to somebody and say, you don't deserve that. I mean, unless you've got bigger problems, but you would never say to yourself that somebody who is pregnant and they're so excited, like you would never run up to that person and say, you don't deserve it because you haven't been working as hard. Only a lunatic would do that. No, a decent human being would just be excited for them, because what's going on in their lives has nothing to do with you. But the way that so many of us have been conditioned to look at success and to look at the order in which things happen is really twisted. And it's funny, I broke this down and I realized there are three primary things that drive this very warped sense of gestational justice, which is, again, this idea that unless you suffer or unless you struggle or unless you've been on this journey long enough, that they're somehow jumping the line. They're somehow cutting in front of all of these other deserving people, which is completely warped. That would presuppose that there's only one way to do this journey, that only one type of person deserves success, and it's the person that waited in line, which is complete and utter bullshit. But what is the basis of this? So the first thing is this very masculine perception of success. Now, I talked all about this at length in my fourth book, The Feminine Fertility Cure. So if you want to go into deeper study on that, I strongly encourage you, go check out my book. It's readily available on Amazon, The Feminine Fertility Cure. But to give you a sense of what I mean here is this idea that you have to struggle, you have to suffer, you have to grind, and you have to overgive, underreceive, and be in pain in order to earn something. That is a very masculine approach to success. In your feminine and in the perception of feminine-oriented success, success can be, dare I say, easy. Success can be natural. Success can be simply part of the deal. But that's not what most of us were taught. Most of us were taught a sense, as I said, that there has to be struggle and pain, deprivation, and sacrifice involved. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't elements of that involved in success. Anyone who stayed home and studied while everyone else was partying and ultimately ended up graduating summa cum laude or whatever it is, they know what sacrifice is. But we're talking about something other than your degrees, your profession. We're talking about the miracle of life. It is not linear. So when you start to take principles of success that require you to grind and completely struggle in the process, that's where you go off into a ditch, because we're calling in life, that is 100% in the realm of the feminine. Your feminine energy, your intuition, your creativity, your spirituality, your nurturing, all of these things are the side of you that you have got to cultivate when you're doing the most freaking feminine thing you can possibly do, and that's stay pregnant and deliver this baby. That is decidedly feminine. Approaching trying to conceive from a masculine construct of struggle, you're already in a place of warped territory. And I say that with so much love because I want you to go from warped to freaking successful. Straighten that out. Get it into a place where it represents true understanding about what's going on here. This journey is nonlinear. This journey does not have to be about struggle. And most of the time, when you find yourself in struggle, it's not giving you the result that you want. That's like bottom line, the most important thing. A masculine approach to your fertility journey will create suffering, struggle, and sadness, and frankly, is going to push you farther and farther away from the success that you crave. So that's the first basis of how we get into this indignant sense of this person doesn't deserve it. They haven't been struggling long enough. As terrible as that sounds, I thought that too. I would look at crackheads coming into the courtroom who had terrible health, but they had a string of children following them in to the courtroom. I was like, it never felt good to say that. But in my mind, in my own, and I'll get to this in a moment, my own sense of victimhood, I was like, they don't deserve that. And it's like, anytime you find yourself in a place of judging what other people deserve, that's when you know you are in the territory of this masculine construct of who deserves what that is completely warped. Now, the second thing is, if you really look at when we have this offended sense of gestational justice, at the core of that is, as I said, some victimhood, but it is the perception of you not being enough. Because one of the things that I hear from women all the time is, I'm doing all the lotions, potions, yoga poses, I'm doing all this stuff, and it's still not happening. But what you're really saying is, you're not really saying that, all this stuff is ineffective, because you know it's effective because you see it working for other people. But what you're really saying in that moment is, I'm doing all these things, it's still not happening, I must not be enough. Underneath all of that is a perception that you are not enough, which is a big fat lie. It is one of the most insane, insidious scams that has ever been perpetrated upon humanity, is this idea, one, of this masculine sense of success, that it has to be hard. And underneath all that is this idea that you're not enough. We are trained to think that. And then we take that mess from our professional lives, dump it into our fertility journey. And then we wonder why this fertility journey is so fucking miserable. We look around constantly comparing ourselves to everybody else and always feeling like a loser. That equation never makes you feel good. Even people who say, they compare themselves and go, well, at least I'm, not that person. The fact that you're comparing yourself is an indicator that you don't feel like enough. You're not staying in your lane. When you're truly confident on this journey, you don't care what other people are doing. You're too busy living your life, living your journey in a way that brings you joy, that you're not looking over your shoulder. It doesn't matter if you're coming in first or last. You know how the race ends. You know how the story ends. Underneath this warped sense of gestational justice, they need to wait their turn, they haven't struggled enough, is, as I said, this masculine perception of success. Number two, now, it's at its core a sense of not enoughness. You don't feel like enough. And this third thing that I call the maternal meritocracy is this idea that you have to deserve to be a mom. And that in and of itself is so crazy, because we get into this idea where, as women, we just start to get pitted against each other. So this is a nuance from this masculine sense of success, this masculine structure and approach to success, coupled with our own sense of unworthiness that preceded our fertility journey. Newsflash, if you don't feel like enough on your fertility journey, that's not the only place where you don't feel like enough, which is why doing this work is so important. But it also creates this maternal meritocracy where we start to question if we deserve to be a mom, if we're going to be a good mom. And maybe the momming that we do is going to look different than others, or we're too old, we're too young, we're too educated, we're not trad mom enough, which, if you were listening to the episode from a couple of weeks ago, I think trad is rad, or any other combination. You get to mom the way that you want. But these three things coming together really create and bolster this idea that our sense of gestational justice gets offended because look at those people over there. It's a very dangerous place to be, ladies. So if you see this happening in you, number one, don't beat yourself up for it. Simply begin to recognize that this is happening in your life. It's an important awareness to have, because each one of those things, the masculine paradigm for success, coupled with the idea that you are not enough, and then this false sense of maternal meritocracy that we run around with in our head. And I did an episode about how your momming will look different than other women's, and you should listen to that in addition to this. But all of these three things come together to create a sense of victimhood and powerlessness, which is why we are judging other people to begin with. So stop it. Stop it. This is a really toxic process that we can find ourselves in. And then what do? Being super big-hearted, hard workers, we will just grind more, struggle more, suffer more, deprive more, and then we wonder why we're not getting anywhere on this journey. Having done this work for over 11 years now, having taught, coached, and touched the lives of thousands upon thousands of women, the idea that you have to work harder is the exact thing that is going to separate you from the very thing that will make you successful on this journey. It puts distance between you and the truth. The truth is, you wouldn't desire this baby if there wasn't a way for you to call them in. You hear me say it, and it's over my shoulder right now. The desire in your heart to be a mom is there because it was meant for you. Meant for you is operative, because if you actually believed something was meant for you, you wouldn't have to grind and struggle and suffer. Now, you would do things that are in the positive direction of what you want. You would do things with love, joy, and excitement in the direction that you want to go, but it doesn't have to be suffering and struggle. And it certainly doesn't involve comparison. It certainly doesn't involve you presuming that you aren't enough. And it also doesn't involve you constantly questioning whether or not you're going to be a good mom, whether you're worthy of being a mom, whether it was meant for you. When you are stuck in that place, you don't feel deserving. It is an absolute departure of the truth. You do deserve this. And when you get that sense of deserving and this is meant for me, then you quit caring what other people are doing. You couldn't be happier for people who are having babies because you're allowing yourself to go to a place where you understand, if they did it, so can I. And more importantly, stay in your fucking lane. You have to understand that your life is not like everyone else's, and your journey is not going to be an expression that necessarily matches everyone else's. Every single woman that I've worked with has had different twists and turns in her life. But the thing that she started really wrapping her mind around is the idea that that's okay. That somebody else's success has no bearing on their success now or in the future. And this idea that things are supposed to happen in order, they're supposed to happen in a certain time, it's all made up. The timeline, the means, what it takes, all of that is completely made up. So one of the things that you can do to get out of this warped sense of gestational justice and comparison and this victimhood that everyone else gets what they want more quickly than I do is ask yourself a really powerful question. I know that the women who are super serious about success on this journey are going to take this seriously when they ask, why am I choosing to have this experience? A mentor of mine shared the power of this question, and I was like, this is massive. Because what you're doing when you ask this question is reminding yourself that you have a choice. Why am I choosing to experience someone else's pregnancy in this way? Why am I making this choice? By asking that question, you immediately, as I said, recognize that you have a choice, but it brings you back into a place of being a creator in your life as opposed to being a victim. Understanding that, hey, I get to experience somebody else's success in any way that I wish. And I don't have to be perfect in this process. I don't have to earn anything. I don't have to struggle. I don't have to suffer. I get to do the things that I know to do to propel myself forward. And when I don't know what to do, I get to ask questions. I get to call in expertise. I get to have coaching. I get to have community around me that are going to support me. And I get to do all the things that I need to do in order to get to where I want to go, which is Mama Town, and there isn't anything wrong with it. It is, in essence, a celebration of the uniqueness of your journey rather than being in constant comparison to what everyone else is doing. You're wasting your time. If you're telling yourself, I'm the last one of this, or all of my friends are going to leave me behind, I'm going to be the oldest mom in the pickup line, who the fuck cares? You want to be in the pickup line, and what the hell does it matter how old you are? Be in the pickup line. Be the woman who sticks with this so that she can be in the pickup line, or whatever representation that you want to have about your role as a mother. Like, it doesn't matter. What other people are doing doesn't matter. Allow yourself to approach this journey with releasing the perfectionism. It's an illusion. Nobody is perfect on this journey. And it's actually funny because if you look back at every single one of my miracle mamas, if you really look critically, every single one of them, in the moment when they called it a miracle, were being perfectly imperfect. They were experiencing joy. They were having a beer. They were traveling. They were spending money on trips. Just think about last week's episode with Supercat. They were doing things that didn't make sense to the outside world. They were coloring outside of the lines. They let go of comparing themselves to other people. They stopped living by this warped sense of gestational justice that I'm next in line. Like, it's entitled. And all of these women broke free of that and started living on their terms in a way that was great for them and elicited a massive dose of vitamin J. So what I'm encouraging you to do here is check your sense of perfectionism. Is that really necessary? I mean, it's one thing to make sure that you're doing your best, but doing your best is not the same as perfectionism. Is it time that you learned how to approach this journey in a way that is decidedly different than you approached your master's degree, your medical degree, your law degree, your business empire, and allow yourself to step into the femininity that yields your fucking fertility? That's what these ladies do. All of these women you've seen on the podcast and all the women I was just working with before I'm recording this episode of the podcast, all of them are learning to do this in a very different way. And there is no question in my mind whatsoever that every single one of them is going to have the experience of breaking free from that warped sense of gestational justice. And they're going to open up the doors wide for their babies to come in without judgment, without all of this pressure, without having to fight, bite, and scratch to get here. It's decidedly masculine, not maternal. So I encourage you, as you're listening to this, really ask yourself, where do I know I need to change this? Where do I need to get out of this sense of victim-y entitlement that, oh, I've been working this long and those other people over there, they're less deserving. I mean, what is it doing in your life? It's separating you from friends, from family, from closeness with the people that you care about because of this warped sense of gestational justice. Where can you start this week letting go of some of that? And I want to give you an example. Next time you hear that one of your friends, coworkers, relatives, whatever the case may be, is pregnant, if you catch yourself starting to compare their age, what they eat, how long they've been trying, whether or not they deserve to have another baby, oh my gosh, I hear women say, well, they already have a bunch of kids and I don't even have one. right? What kind of victim-y shit is that? Let's be honest. We understand where that's coming from, but that doesn't mean it's healthy, and that doesn't mean it's actually productive on your journey. Do something better. Do something better. When this comes up, I want you to practice your sense of gratitude for where you are today, and the love and the excitement and the blessings for health and a safe delivery that you truly want to wish those people. Because if you let your own pain, your own struggle, your own warped ideas about what justice on this journey is completely blind you to the fact that you don't know everything about those people's lives, and your journey gets to be special in and of itself. If you don't do that, if you don't give yourself an opportunity to send them love, refocus on your journey and staying in your own lane, you're going to get to the point where this journey is so fucking miserable that you will quit. And I've said it before and I will say it again. People ask me all the time about, but what about the women that don't end up having babies on this journey? It's because they gave up. There are more than a few ways to be a mom on this journey. The women that are not holding babies, I know some people aren't going to like this. The women that don't hold babies are the ones that give up. The gangsters are the ones that keep going, and they find their way to their baby. So instead of focusing on perfection, gestational justice, and all this other garbage, focus in on you, your gratitude for where you are today, and refocus on where you are headed. It's going to be the smartest thing you ever do, and it's going to be the thing that starts to make this journey joyful, not this hideous, miserable curse that way too many women see that it is. It's a fucking gift, and if you're smart, you'll see that. And if you want my help getting there, like so many women all over the world, my ladies are internet famous for beating the odds, and women come to me from all over the world for one thing: fertility success. And if that's what you want to be, go to my website, www.frommaybe2baby.com, and apply for an interview there. My methodology, especially as you saw last week, has helped women all over the world make their mom dreams come true. Their results speak for themselves. And if you don't have a mindset for success in this journey, baby, you got a gaping hole in your strategy. Let's fix that shit and take you beyond the limits of fertility medicine. That's what mind-body calibration does, baby. This is how you make your mom dreams come true. So go to www.frommaybe2baby.com. Till next time, change your mindset, change your results.
Love this episode of the Fearlessly Fertile podcast? Subscribe now and leave an awesome review. Remember, the desire in your heart to be a mom is there because it was meant for you. When it comes to your dreams, keep saying hell yes.